What is up, sweet friends, and welcome to Imperfect Success, the podcast teaching you, a success-driven perfectionist, how to achieve your goals imperfectly. This episode has been the longest time coming. And after years of coaching people who were really frustrated that they were procrastinating on their dreams, they felt overwhelmed by their goals, and thus they were taking no really clear steps forward. They had no idea where to start, so much more frustration. It is time to dedicate an entire episode to breaking down big goals. Buckle up, buttercups. This is gonna be a biggie, and let's dive in. My name is Nicole Baker-Holloman, coach for perfectionists, a recovering perfectionist herself, and striver of imperfect success. I cannot wait for this episode. I just want to clear the air on something real quick. We did release this episode a few weeks ago. However, there were some issues with audio quality, so much so that I was like, I want to redo this episode, add a few things, tweak a few things, and re-release it. You all know that I am a high achiever. You all know that I do have very high standards for all podcasts, and that audio quality, which was totally on my part, there were some issues with the microphone connection. I wanted to make sure that this was an episode that was both pleasing to the ear and the brain. So we're redoing it. And like I said, we're tweaking some things and adding some extras. So if you have listened to this episode before, I hope this is A, much more pleasing to your ear. And B, I hope you get a lot more out of this. I'm going to ask some deeper questions as we go through. There's your little tease, by the way. But friends, I want to just dive straight into the meat here because there is so much to cover. And I want to start with, why the heck is goal setting so flippin' overwhelming to begin with? Why do we not understand goal setting at this fundamental level? Like, everyone just expects their brains to understand goal setting, these huge, big concepts of goal setting at birth. Like, we're not supposed to know this. There is a reason why our brain is actually programmed fundamentally to work against going after big goals. So first and foremost, most of the time we have too many goals. And when I say this, it freaks a lot of people out because one of the things about being a perfectionist is having very high standards for yourself. And when you have very high standards, you have very high expectations, which means you tend to demand a lot from your life, from your work, from your everything. And this can result in having way many goals. So I want you to think about goals and having too many of them, almost like this. And if you've been in my space for a while, you've probably heard this before, but we can never hear analogies too many times, my friends. There's this neurological reason for that, but I will digress on that later. So when we have too many goals, it's almost like we are standing in a field and in front of us are 40 cats. And all of these cats are on some hyperactive, hulked out catnip. And as a result, you are trying, this is like your mission of life, your standard that you're putting on yourself, so to speak, is to herd all 40 of these cats and put them somewhere nice, safe, cozy, delightful, delicious, where they can snuggle and be warm. But are you going to go into said field, just stretch out your arms and attempt to scoop all 40 of those cats at once? No, that's not how this works. You have to fix your eyes on one cat, go after it, maybe have to change your strategy a few times. Maybe since it's on some hyperactive, hold out catnip, it's running away from you. It's trying to scratch you. It might be trying to pee on you. If you have a cat, you know what I mean. But if you're going after it over and over and over again, you're changing your strategy, you're trying new things, eventually that one cat will be in your arms, snuggly, purring, and you can move on to the next cat once you put that one away. So goals are very similar. When we have too many goals, it's like we're going out into said field and arms outstretched, trying to catch all 40 cats. It is literally impossible. Here's another way I want you to think about it. If, let's say I'm going after 10 goals, because that seems to be the median that I see the most often. Don't get me wrong. I've counted 45 goals on a call with someone before, and they were so frustrated with themselves of like, oh my God, why can't I make this happen? Why can't I seem to do anything? And we counted every single goal. And I said, do you see why now? It's because your brain is literally in overdrive all the time. No wonder it's terrified to go after one of these flippin' fuckers. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So here's a different way I want you to think about it. Again, going back to just 10 goals, I want you to imagine you are lined up with 10 versions of yourself. So I'm going to use myself as an example here. There's 10 Nicoles, 10 little copycat Nicoles on a starting line. And 100 paces in front of these 10 Nicoles is the finish line for all 10 of my goals. But I cannot take multiple steps towards that finish line at the same time. So like 2 and 3 Nicole can't take a step at the same time. Each Nicole has to take a step one at a time. So if I'm trying to get all 10 of these Nicoles 100 paces forward across that finish line, how long is that going to take me if Nicole number 5 takes a step forward and then Nicole number 3 takes a step forward and then Nicole number 10 takes a step forward and then Nicole number 5 maybe takes 2 steps forward, but then Nicole number 4 feels left behind, so she takes 2 steps forward. But then, oh my God, Nicole number 9 is falling behind and she's a failure and she has to take 5 steps forward. But then, oh my God, you see where I mean. So if I do that, I am going to take 4 fucking ever to get to the end result, to get to that end line. So instead, how I want you to think about goal setting is this. 1 Nicole, 100 paces in front of me, the finish line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, step, finish line. Yay, celebrate. Okay, Nicole number 2, go. Almost like a relay rather than trying to do them all at once. So when we have too many goals, basically our brain goes into this hella overwhelm overdrive. And as a result, it gets so freaked out. It hits that fight, flight, freeze button. It hits the, oh my God, I cannot do it because this is overwhelming and terrifying. And we will do whatever it takes to instead procrastinate and hold ourselves back, because procrastination is literally just searching for what's comfortable. Which, speaking of which, let's talk about culprit number 2, which is procrastination. When things feel too big and scary, or things feel unclear, or things feel overwhelming, like we just talked about, our brain naturally slams the fight, flight, freeze button. When we slam the fight, flight, freeze button, normally when we have a habit of procrastination, we're going to slam that flight button, which basically means, I'm not feeling this today. This feels really unclear. I don't really know what to do. You know what feels really clear and a lot easier is cleaning my kitchen, or, scrolling through TikTok, or cleaning out my email for the 45th time today, or going on that messaging platform, or going on Reddit, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So a lot of the times we will reach for things that are way more comfortable. Going on YouTube is another big one. People procrastinate on YouTube all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I love YouTube. YouTube has amazing information on it. I have literally built my whole business, and now even a second business, based off of things I learned from free YouTube videos. However, when you are used to, I'm overwhelmed, you know what, I'll just scroll through YouTube for a little bit. I'll watch some videos that entertain me, but don't really move me forward in my goals. When we have a habit of doing this too much and we're beating ourselves up about it, that's where it really can be a major inhibitor in our goal setting journey. Now, don't get me wrong. We need to relax. We need to take time off. We need to give our brain a fucking break sometimes, friends. We need to do that a lot more often than many of us are. And especially as we go into the holiday season, we're going to be doing an episode very soon all about the holidays, how to take time off during the holidays, what that does to our perfectionist brains, and how we totally beat ourselves up for taking off time during the holidays, so on and so forth. But I really want you all to think about procrastination and relaxation are not the same thing. You know the difference. You know, listener, you know the difference here. Procrastination is, I know I should be doing that thing, and I'm feeling kind of guilty that I'm not. And I know that my goals and my dreams and the things that I want out of life would happen faster if I did said thing. But it feels unclear. It feels too scary. It feels da-da-da-da. And the exercise that we're going to go through today will really help with especially the overwhelm / unclear feelings that cause procrastination. Culprit number 3 is multitasking and everything feeling super urgent. We've done a lot of episodes on overwhelm, and this tends to be one of the big reasons high achievers feel overwhelmed. We feel like we have to do all these things all at once, making sure we're multitasking and going back and forth and making sure our email is open all the time. But not only that, our Slack is open all the time. I'm very new to Discord now because of this other podcast that I'm doing. And I have had to put very strict boundaries around when is Discord open, when is Discord not open. For those of you who are like me and didn't know what Discord was until a week ago, Discord is basically an online messaging platform where a bunch of people can get together under a common theme and talk about things that you love and talk about things that excite you. And I love and am very excited about the things that are talked about on that channel. But I also know that if I had it open all the time and I'm writing an email, but then I need to go write a Discord, and then I'm working on an email workflow, and then I need to go back to the Discord, and then I'm writing an outline for this other podcast, and then I need to go back to the Discord. I would feel like my shoulders were up to my ears all the time. Now, we do this with text messaging, with our email being open. Email is probably one of the big culprits here, friends. Having your email open all the time is a big no-no. I say as I'm closing my email right now, I'm not perfect. Having anything where people are easily able to get a hold of you. Now, let's put a big asterisk here because we cannot be perfect with this. We cannot have a big line in the sand a lot of the times, like I'm talking about here with Discord, or as simple as closing out our email. If, for instance, one of the big things that make us feel like we need to multitask is, for example, another living, breathing human being, like a child or a new puppy that you have. When we have things that are demanding our attention and we do need to multitask, that is a very different exception that I'm talking about here. So when I'm talking about overwhelm in multitasking, everything feeling urgent, that's when it's like, okay, I'm trying to get to my end result of my goal as fast as possible. So I'm just going to do a bunch of things at once. I'm going to have a million tabs open and I'm going to try to do all these things as fast as possible because that'll make me more successful, right? The answer is no, it actually won't. You're going to make more mistakes. You're going to be more stressed out. You'll burn out a lot faster, which means you will not have as much creative juices to pour into said goal that you want to accomplish. You'll have a lot less brain energy. That glucose is drained so fast when we multitask, friends. Glucose is, by the way, the energy storage that we use in our brain. So much more. Honestly, multitasking is one of the big bad myths that has been proven that does not even exist. Multitasking is not even real technically. Multitasking is literally just our brain switching from one task to another, not doing them simultaneously, which is another reason why those glucose storages go so quickly. And last but not least, culprit number 4. By the way, the exercise we're going to do today is going to address every single one of these culprits. Let me tell you, culprit number 4 is, even though you have done a lot, maybe you've been multitasking and you're trying to sprint to the end result as fast as possible and your shoulders are up to your ears and you're sprinting and you're sprinting and you're sprinting. You've done a lot. You've checked a lot of things off that list, but you're not giving yourself any credit. Nicole, are you freaking kidding me? How does giving myself credit help me with overwhelm in my goals? Because when we're not giving ourselves credit, you're a bitch to yourself. When you are not giving yourself credit, you are so mean. You're saying, I need to push harder. I need to do more. I need to get to that end result as fast as possible. Oh, I'm at that end result. Never mind. It's actually the next end result that's going to make me happy. I need to go to that one. And we push ourselves and we beat ourselves up because we're desperately trying to get to this next result. So please, this is what we're going to talk about a lot in especially section number 2 today. I need you all to start giving yourself some more flippin' credit on your way to your goals. Now, that's not just the end result, friends. That's not just, yay, I made it to the end result of my goal. Hooray, I can celebrate. Nope, we celebrate along the way because that's how we build healthy brains and that's how we build nice things to ourselves and so on and so forth.
You want to know what one of the most searched for terms in this podcast is? Overwhelm. And of course it is. We've got 12 goals we're currently working on. Our to-do lists have been written and most likely rewritten in 7 different places. You said yes to way too many people when you were feeling social last Tuesday, and to top it all off, because you're so overwhelmed, you're scrolling through social media, seeing these amazing people accomplishing these amazing things, and then you beat yourself up because you should be doing more. Overwhelm is taking over society. And because of this, I've spent the past year studying the neuroscience of of overwhelm and how it affects high achievers. And through all that research, I created an exercise that now leaves most of my private clients in tears of relief after we do it together. But now that exercise is available for you too. Over the Overwhelm is a mini course teaching you a short 15-minute exercise on how to actually get yourself out of overwhelm. Because when we're in overwhelm, the last thing we need is like a 2-hour masterclass to watch. We need a 15-minute done and dirty exercise. But because here at Imperfect Success, we believe in knowing the science behind why we do things, I've also included an explainer video for this reason that goes behind the neuroscience of why overwhelm exists in our brains in the first place, especially as high achievers. But also, because I believe in going above and beyond for you people and your amazingness, I've included troubleshooting videos that address the main causes of overwhelm and how to stop it in its tracks. This mini course has quickly become the most popular here at Imperfect Success / Life Coach Baker. And the best part is it's $30 and it's yours to watch again and again and again whenever overwhelm comes up. You can get more information about Over the Overwhelm by clicking the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So I've been teasing this exercise that we're going to be doing, and it's time to dive in, friends. Let's freaking do it. So this exercise is all about breaking down big goals into small action steps without the overwhelm, meaning it's time to get shit done on the way to your goals. Huzzah! I love it. So step number 1 is your Everest goal. What does that mean, Nicole? An Everest goal, I want you to think about it like this. It is like your Mount Everest. It is the big peak. It is the big thing that you are working towards to get to the top of that mountain. Here's another way I want you to think about it. If you're at a seedy bar, yeah, this is probably not where you thought I was going, but if you're at a seedy bar and you're playing darts, how do you play darts? You have a dart in your hand and you fling it towards this board, towards the bullseye. I want you to think about your Everest goal as your own personal bullseye. When you are flinging these darts towards a dartboard that either doesn't have a bullseye, or better yet, you have 10 dartboards on the wall because you want 10 goals to happen, or even better yet, I've seen this one a lot too, there's no flipping dartboard whatsoever because your goal is really unclear. You just say, I want this really ambiguous thing and I guess I kind of want it. So there's no dartboard on the wall. You're just throwing darts at your wall and you're making your, at least in my case, landlord really pissed off. So I want you to think about your Everest goal as the one friends, the one bullseye on this dartboard. It is the one peak on this mountain that you are working towards. So another way we can think about it, and this kind of ties this all up in a beautiful little bow together, is your Everest goal is level 100. If you are here at level 0 and your Everest goal is level 100, that is where we're heading towards. We are heading towards level 100. But in level 100, we still have steps 1 through 99, or levels 1 through 99 to get to. More on that in a moment, friends. But how big or small is an Everest goal, quote unquote, supposed to be? Don't get me wrong. Everest goals are big goals. Mount Everest is a big mountain, right? But many people make the mistake of having their Everest goal too big. Here's what I mean by that. I'm thinking more in time, like time it takes to achieve said goal. Now, don't get me wrong. Dreams normally have a longer time associated with it. Like I'm thinking like 5 to 10 years. However, way back when, like let's go in like the 1970s, that's apparently way back when in my head. Like that doesn't feel like it was 3 years ago. I say as a 90s born kid. Anyway, back in the 1970s, we had a lot more patience, and previous to that, by the way, too, we had a lot more patience. We could make an Everest goal a 5 to 10 year goal, no problem. But now in 2023, 2024 and beyond, we do not have that kind of patience anymore. We will make it, 2 years and be like, oh my freaking God, is this ever going to happen for me? And then we beat ourselves up and then we're not kind and we don't like that. No. So instead, while yes, the dream can be, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever years out, I want the Everest goal to be no more than a year. because I want you to have your best chances of keeping your motivation up, keeping that drive high, keeping the momentum high, keeping that positive self-talk high. Yes, that is so important when it comes to goal setting. My favorite is usually, honestly, 3 to 6 months. I love making Everest goals way smaller than they're, in the media or in, traditional goal setting supposed to be, quote unquote. I love making mine between 3 to 6 months. I see 6 months to a year also be really successful, but typically that 3 months to a year is the sweet spot for an Everest goal. Now, what is a number one mistake people make when it comes to their Everest goals? Making the goal vague or unclear. If I have an Everest goal of, I want to have a business, holy hell, that's not clear. Holy hell, that makes no sense. What kind of business do I want? What kind of business do I want to make? Those are two very different questions, by the way. What kind of business do I want is the, model, the, maybe the premise, maybe the niche I'm serving. What kind of business do I want to make is the time commitment, is the daily energy that I'm associating with it, is the outcome that I expect myself to produce energetically for it, so on and so forth. What does that mean? So instead of saying, I want a business, maybe it's, I want to build a business coaching perfectionists and helping them achieve their goals. Oh, how much more clear is that? Maybe as a little sub-paragraph, I'd put, and I want to work no more than 30 hours a week doing so. That's a lot more clear. That is a very clear Everest goal, by the way. And that's something that if I was starting from scratch, I could make that a year goal. Honestly, maybe even less, depending on if I attached an income level to it. But I really, 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 really want to stress this one because this is the number one mistake for a reason, is people making these vague or unclear. Another one I hear is, I want to get healthy. And I'm like, what does that mean to you? What is healthy to you? Because is that physical health? Is that mental health? Is it a hybrid of both? Is it you want to run a marathon? Is it you want to start walking 30 minutes a day? Is it you want to change your diet? Is it you want to move to a place where you're able to get more sunlight in the morning? There's so many different options there, and you need to be more clear. So I want you all to think in your head, what is your Everest goal right now? What is your 3 to 6 month goal, and how can you make it as clear as humanly possible? So if you want to even pause this, yeah, I'd recommend it. You have a phone. You're probably listening to this on your phone. Open up that notes app and give this a jot down real quick while it's on your mind. Trust me, your brain will thank me for it later. But let's move on to step 2, which is your milestone goals. So we have our Everest goal. That's our level 100. It's the bullseye on the dartboard. It's the Mount Everest that we're trying to climb. Our milestone goals are those 1 through 99. So remember, Everest is 100. That 3 months to 1 year goal is level 100. Your milestone goal, those are steps 1 through 99. They are much smaller, like miles, milestone goal, miles smaller than that Everest goal. And here's the best part. Yes, they are 1 through 99. You do not need to know 1 through 99. By the way, that's a totally arbitrary number. I've seen 500 milestone goals. I've seen 4 milestone goals to achieve an Everest goal. There is no perfect number here, but you don't need to know all of the steps. I wouldn't want you to know all of the steps. I wouldn't want you to spend that time writing it down because they will probably change as you go along with it. You only need to know the next milestone goal, the next one on your list. So if you're here at level 0, you only need to know 1, because when you achieve 1, then, number 2 becomes a lot clearer. And then you go to number 2, and then 3 through 5 become a lot clearer. And then you get to 5, and then 10 through 25 become clear. It's like that Martin Luther King Jr. quote, you don't have to see the whole staircase, you only have to take the first step. That's the goal with milestone goals. But just like with Everest goals, how big or small are milestone goals supposed to be? Here's my favorite part. 1 to 2 weeks. These are tiny. Now, I've said this to some people and they tense up because they're like, how can that be called a goal then? That's just a to-do list item. That's too small. It feels too easy. What if it feels like I'm not even doing anything? That's the point. We're looking for things that don't activate the overwhelm muscle, which means we're not getting, stressed out. It means we're not feeling like, oh my God, I'm out of my comfort zone times a million. They're supposed to feel almost too easy, almost too simple. You will still get out of your comfort zone. Don't get me wrong. You will still definitely get out of your comfort zone, but they are supposed to be almost toddler level too easy for you to feel like, is this really worth celebrating? Speaking of which, here's a hidden bonus of milestone goals. They are all about journey-based thinking versus end result or bust. A lot of us think about goals as level 100. And by the way, there's like 15 question marks at the end of that because it's unclear. As like, I'm going to achieve this goal. And then when I do, I'm going to celebrate my face off. And then I'm going to move on to the next one. We don't celebrate our faces off because we're already thinking about the next one and how we're not good enough for it and how we're so behind and we need to do all these things and da, 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 da. What I love about these milestone goals is they almost force our brain to rethink the goal setting process. Because if we're mapping out 1 to 2 week goals at a time, our brain is going to start looking at these as, every 1 to 2 weeks, good job me, look at me go, look at me accomplish things, look at me accomplish this goal, which by the way, motivates us to the absolute nth degree. And it also massively improves our motivation, our self-talk, our self-image, our ability to see that we're making progress. I mean, like the list goes freaking on and on when it comes to giving ourselves credit for milestone goals. Now, this does mean that at the end of those every, 1 to 2 weeks, you're celebrating yourself. Oh my God, but Nicole, I'm going to be so conceited. If I celebrate myself every 1 to 2 weeks, how selfish, no, you're making money moves towards your goal. Why the fuck would you not celebrate the absolute, why would you not celebrate yourself? If you are getting out of your comfort zone, because again, yes, these might seem simple. These might be 1 to 2 weeks and they might seem really small and tiny and like you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You are still worthy of celebration, period. End of discussion, period. So here's some examples of what I would really recommend when it comes to celebration. Because a lot of people hear the word celebration and they're like, it's going out to dinner or going out to drinks or, celebrating with a partner or friends or a loved one. Yes and no. A celebration is literally getting present and feeling proud of yourself. That's all that a celebration is. So I've seen people do celebration in a form of meditation. For me, my favorite is to hold my partner's hands and just say to myself, I am proud of myself. By having him to almost like ground me and for me to say out loud, I am proud of myself, it makes me so present. It makes me feel so grateful for how far I've come. That's another one, by the way, is to journal on where was I and where am I now? It's all about looking at the present moment and even kind of looking backwards a little bit of like, wow, look how far I've come. A lot of people look at celebrations as future-based thinking. Okay, where am I going next? Okay, I'm out to dinner, but I'm only thinking about my next goal that I'm wanting to accomplish. Nope. That is not celebration. That's adding more things to your mental to-do list. Now, because the human brain works like this, you're probably listening to this and you're thinking, okay, what are my next milestone goals on my way to this Everest goal that I'm creating for myself? And if you're coming up short, if you're like, fuck, I don't know what my milestone goals are, I'm going to share with you my favorite, the golden milestone goal. And that is find someone who is 2 to 5, I'll say even 3 to 5 steps ahead of you and ask to pick their brain. That's it. That's simple enough. That is a milestone goal. Ask some people, I'd say probably 2 to 3 people who are 3 to 5 steps ahead of you to pick their brain. Oh my God, Nicole, but then I'm not appreciating their, knowledge and I'm taking advantage of them. You'd be surprised. You'd be shocked at how many people are over the moon to help others. Now, sometimes this does mean a paywall. I personally have never run up against that. I've used this a lot and I've never had to deal with that. And even I get people a lot actually asking me like, how do you start a podcast? How do you start a coaching business? Where do you get coaching training? And that's people doing this exact thing. Find someone who is 3 to 5 steps ahead of you and ask to pick their brain. And I will respond to them with my honest answers in DMs every single time. I've given like small TED Talks to people absolutely free because I love that they had the guts to ask me. And I want to reward that. Because why the fuck would I put how to start a podcast, which I only have my own experience. I don't have the golden how to start a podcast, but why would I put that behind a quote unquote paywall when it would take me 3 minutes to respond to someone? This is one thing that I'm very passionate about, especially when it comes to the online business industry. There's a lot of like barriers to entry that I'm really personally trying to take down. I don't like it at all. So I'm not going to get on that TED Talk right now, but you'd be shocked at how many people are over the moon willing to help you out here. So people pleasers, you have no excuse. Now, where do milestone goals go wrong? Normally thinking about them like too many cats. Like we said earlier, this is like you're going after too many at one time. 1 through 99 is a linear number order. Yep, that made sense. So you're going to do 1, then accomplish 1, and then do 2, then accomplish 2, then accomplish 3. You're not going to accomplish 1 through 3 all at the same time. That's not how this works. Number 2 thing, the second thing that people do that makes them go wrong is they make them too big. When they are too big, again, they should be accomplishable in about 2 weeks or less. I love 1 week ones because I just work best that way. 2 weeks is the max I would go. Because if we're going more, then why not just make it a freaking Everest goal? And then number 3 is not celebrating yourself at the end. If you're just checking things off a list and moving on to the next one, friends, check yourself. So I want you to think about what is your Everest goal. If you're taking notes or if you're doing this exercise with me, this is a really good time to open up that notes app again and look at your Everest goal and ask yourself, okay, if I'm here at level 0, what is my next step? Just my next step that I can accomplish in 1 to 2 weeks. Boom. That's your next milestone goal. If you want to map out 2 and 3, you can, but I really only want you to focus on that first milestone goal. Lastly, we have step 3. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you have heard this term before. It is called one sitting tasks. This is how we kick overwhelm out of our brain for good. Seriously. What is a one sitting task in case you need a refresher or in case you're new here, which in case, welcome. Hello. I hope you're enjoying this. All of your milestone goals, we're just looking at that first one right now. All of your milestone goals have multiple steps or tasks in order to complete them. These are your one sitting tasks. So like the name suggests, these are tasks that you can do in one sitting. Go figure. These are about 90 minutes or less tasks. Personally, I love 15 to 30 minutes. I love breaking them down really chunking them down. Maybe an hour. I don't mind hour-long tasks, but typically I like to keep them at that 30-minute level. So these are incredibly specific. Like you thought milestone goals were toddler level? Oh, buddy, these are so flipping tiny. It is also obvious when these are done, what does that mean, Nicole? It means they're quantifiable. It means they're time defined. It means, for example, if you're saying, figure out how to sign up for email marketing system, there we go. That's not a one sitting task. Anything that starts with figure out or research needs to be quantifiable. It needs to be more specific. So maybe it's research 5 email marketing platforms. That's different. Or it's spend 15 minutes Googling different email marketing platforms. That's specific. Do you feel the difference there? Figure out is so ambiguous and our brains just do not have the flippin' patience to sit down, see that on a to-do list and actually know what to do. It will activate the overwhelm muscle, especially if we have a habit of procrastinating already. Haha. So how long are one sitting tasks? Like I said, they're about maximum 90 minutes, ideally less. Again, I love those like 15 to 30, maximum 60-minute ones. The outline that I'm using right now to record this podcast, I did in a 15-minute one sitting task. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I put on some music to make my brain go a little quiet. And I allowed myself to get into flow state and just and then here we are. Here we are, friends. So speaking of those 3 things that I just mentioned, what are some ideal scenarios to make one sitting tasks actually work for ourselves? Allow yourself distraction-free time. Now, I'm going back to fur babies and baby babies example. When we have things that do demand a lot of attention from ourselves and very little distraction-free time, this one's going to be hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to even try to make it like, you can do it, because that I would not be doing my job as a coach if I was doing that. However, there are some things that you can do to make it easier. If you have a partner or some support around you, asking them to take the kids or the fur baby for an hour so that you can have some distraction-free time. I know when kids are a little bit older, sometimes having like a red light or a green light on the outside of your office door is also really helpful. So if it's red, they know, hey, I can't go bug the parent right now. If it's green, hey, we're good to go. Another thing is, no matter the age of your child, having your one sitting tasks chunked down to the tiniest time possible. So I would not go over 30 minutes if I was a parent, because I've coached a lot of parents and going over 30 minutes just tends to always get distracted. So 15 minutes, ideal. 5 minutes, best. I realize ideal and best are the same thing. So 5 to 15 minutes. So that means sometimes not being able to do a full one sitting task in one sitting. That's okay. That does not make it any less goal getting. It doesn't mean you're any less motivated. It doesn't mean you're any less whatever. It just means you're in a chapter of life where that's what you can do. And that's okay. Now, another scenario that I strongly recommend when it comes to one sitting tasks, do the scariest or the most overwhelming first. Now, if you're chunking them down into those teeny, tiny little tasks, they're not going to be overwhelming. Hooray! But they still might be out of our comfort zone, which might activate some of that overwhelm, which is why I say, do this one first. Do it first. Because if I have a list of 5 one-sitting tasks, 3 are really comfortable, one's like that's a little scary, but like I can do it. And the 5th is like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I'm going to do the terrifying one first, because if not, I'll do the easy ones first. And then I guess I'll do that kind of hard one. But then I'm putting this one off. I'm putting this one off. And I will continue that habit of procrastination, just in a new way. And we don't want to do that. So doing that scariest one first. By the way, a huge rush of dopamine happens when you do something really scary and out of your comfort zone. So you get that big boost of motivation and you're like, oh my God, look how amazing I am. So friends, I want you to take that first milestone goal of yours. Again, going back to your notes, you have your Everest goal, that big goal, that level 100. Then we have step 1 mapped out. I want you to break down that step 1 into your first one sitting task, just your first one. Not 5, just 1. Just one sitting task. That's all I want you to do. And friends, that's the exercise. That is how we break down big goals into teeny tiny little steps. Now, if overwhelm is still something that you're worried about hopping in, or if you're overwhelmed by this exercise, please go check out that mini course, Over the Overwhelm. I will have the link in the show notes. It is one of the most powerful 15-minute courses you will ever take in your entire life, and you have access to it for the entire life of Life Coach Baker. So if you need to revisit it over and over and over again, it's yours. Hooray! There's also 7 troubleshooting videos that are about what are the 7 most common causes of overwhelm, and talking about how to basically nip them in the butt before they even start. So again, link is in the show notes to Over the Overwhelm. Go check it out. But here's a quick little recap to tie a little bow on this Tuesday podcast. Number 1, having that Everest goal, your level 100, that bullseye on the dartboard. We need to know where we're going, and it needs to be crisp and clear. Number 2, breaking down that big goal into milestone goals is how we help feel prouder of ourselves, how we help feel like this is more of a journey. And it also helps us feel like we are making action steps every single week towards that greater goal. Number 3, breaking down those milestone goals into one sitting tasks to avoid procrastination and overwhelm. I hope that this was helpful, friends. I adore you. I love you. This is a big, heady concept. So if you have questions, DM me on Instagram. I am at Life Coach Baker. Or if you like this exercise, please share this with a friend. Share this on social. Tag me at Life Coach Baker. I would love to reshare it and just hug you virtually via that. But friends, that's all we have for today. Keep striving for that imperfect success with your big goals, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.